Now we sit in the sand holding hands, watch the sunset over the land, and I'm glad that the bright blue water and the brown on the ground and the frown on your face is upside down.
So let's start with the content of today's session. How to create resilience and become independent. Bill Mollison's Permaculture, a designer's manual, is used as a PTC curriculum, already gives us a lot of good ideas on how a resilient ecosystem should be designed and how to set it up for the long run. The current situation showcases how quickly and radical framework conditions can change in an emergency situation, and that designing redundancy in your system from the very first moment is key. Having life-supporting functions met by at least two elements are important to being able to mitigate risks and increase the resilience of an ecosystem. An easy-to-grasp example might be water supply. If you have a river that runs through your property, you have one main source of water, and the access to water as a life-supporting function is met by one element. Even though you might fear that it's very unlikely that this river will ever run dry, you want to be prepared for this situation. In permaculture, we are designing for extremes, and therefore it is good to have an access to water backed with a different source. This can be a well, rainwater harvesting, governmental water supply, or any other source of water supply.
We created a model that hopefully helps you to define your way towards your goal. We will showcase and explain it based on our current example here at Gaia Ashram. So this model helps to guide us on our way, to empower ourselves, to increase resilience, and also to become more independent from outside supply. Especially in this current situation, but also in general, we want to limit our logistic travels for food and other material supply from the outside. So one way of achieving this is an increase in self-sufficiency. This method works also for designing your personal life or business or whatever project you are working on. Not only for resilience and empowerment. You can use any main goal you want to achieve and use the framework to figure out your next steps. So we came up with a 3-step approach towards resilience and independence. As a first step, you will just put everything that already exists and what is already implemented into the framework. And by doing so, you get a baseline of your current state of resilience and independence and identify the low-hanging fruit, let's say.
After that, as a second step, we will walk through the entire process again, filling the gaps and putting priority to the functions you want to be able to meet first. So we're just looking what is already implemented and where do we want to be, and then we're basically doing a gap analysis, seeing, okay, this is what we need to fill. And then as a third, not as the last step, but the third step, you will implement methods to fulfill your priority functions matching with your values. And then from there, you basically can start again from the second step.
So let's talk about the values first. And that's where you start to define your core values and key design drivers. Those will work as your North Star and help you to guide your way through. To use Gaia Ashram as an example, we put diversity and justice, regional authenticity, and nature, as well as stewardship and independence as our key design drivers. Whenever you are not clear if you are still on the right path, you can always come back to your values and see if your actions, decisions, or whatever you feel uncertain about still match with your values.
So in order to follow your values, you need to define the main functions you need to meet within your community to increase resilience and become more independent from outside supply. In our case, we figured out that food and water supply need to be met first in order to keep functioning. Shelter and culture would be an important function to focus on in order to manage group dynamics and ensure the basic needs are met again. The last function we put in was income and trade. As long as we are surrounded interacting with an economic system that is monetary dominated, resilience and empowerment also means choosing income streams that are in line with our values and still opening opportunities to fulfill our purpose.
The next step is about elements. So based on the choice of your functions, you are entering the element level. You're thinking about what elements need to be in place to ensure that your main functions are met. For food, for example, we were pretty clear that soil and organic matter are essential, as well as having access to local seeds and steady plant supply. Furthermore, indigenous culture and knowledge are super important to turn biodiversity into food abundance.
In this step, we are defining what method are important to have the right elements available. Following the food example again, compost is a great method to turn waste into a resource and increase soil fertility. A nursery is key to increasing diversity and also ensuring that enough plants are available to meet your food demand. And as a last point, seed saving will ensure that we have access to seeds that are already accustomed to our very local framework conditions.
Okay, this is just the first step. The framework doesn't show you yet where to put your elements or how to design an ecosystem or project in an energy efficient way. It is guiding you through your individual development, and it is showing your path towards reaching a goal. It also functions as an analysis tool to help you to elaborate if your goal is realistic and if you really feel committed to it on a different level. This graphic is only a tiny little part of the entire mind map you want to create for your own life or community on your way to more resilience. During that course, we will always come back to that graph and show you why we are using a specific technique, tool or method to increase resilience and on what level you might see the greatest possible effect with the least changes.
Before closing this session, we have a learning exercise for you.
All of these colors bleed as one.